here to introduce a gentleman I've never met, but I've seen him on TV a bunch of times, and you might have too. Retired Brigadier General Don Buldoc. So, Don does a few jobs. He's one of the leaders of an organization called Flag Officers for America. Everyone, well, you're going to find out what that is, so I'm not going to try to describe it. These are patriots. These are senior retired military officers that are pushing back right now about what's going on in our government and what's going on in the senior levels of our military, okay? You heard me before talking about my son Max and what's happening boots on the ground wise with our teenagers right now. It's disgusting. It's a betrayal. And I'm so happy that Don came out here to talk to us, and I'm so happy he's out there fighting the fight every day and exposing this so we can get it fixed, okay? A little bit about his military career, which is amazing. During his 33-year career with the U.S. Army and the 10 deployments he led in Afghanistan, 10 deployments. General Buldoc received 2 awards for valor, 5 Bronze Star medals, Defense Service Medal, Defense Superior Service Medal, Legion of Merit, Army Commendation Medal, and 2 Purple Hearts. He led one of the first groups in Afghanistan after the 9/11 attacks, riding on horseback to take control of the southern Afghan region from the Taliban. Amazing. He was also one of the few survivors of both a helicopter crash and a 2,000-pound bomb. While he's been doing all this, he's also running for Senate in New Hampshire in 2022, which is great to hear. He's earned the nicknames Captain America and Everyone's General. Please welcome retired Brigadier General Don Buldoc. Thank you.
There we saw the men and boys as the station
Well, thank you all very much, and God bless you today. The Lord has given us a great day to meet and gather, and I just have to point some things out, I think, down in the front there. Save America, the word united, the word rally, the word freedom of the brave. This is what it's all about in this country, and it's slipping away. And I want to thank the previous speakers for their powerful words, because they hit everything that we need to be concerned about. And it really doesn't matter if you're a Republican or an independent or a Democrat or a libertarian. These are definitely American problems. And if we don't face them now, and if we don't do the one thing that we need to do, and that is bring effective leadership back into our local, state, and federal elected offices, then this country is going to be lost. And that is going to be very unfortunate for all of us, particularly our children and our grandchildren. And we can see it happening, and it is coming. And I don't mean to bring words of fear, because that's not what I do. I don't want to bring uncertainty, and certainly control, because that's the 3 elements that have been brought down on us for a long time by the establishment on both sides, as Jeff has mentioned, right? This is a Republican and a Democrat issue. They are getting in the way of our Declaration of Independence. They're getting in the way of our Constitution, and they're getting in the way of a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Now, I'm here today to talk to you about some things. I'm here with my wife, Sharon. Sharon and I have been married for a little over 32 years now. She is undoubtedly the backbone of our family and has been for ever since we got married, ever since we had our first boy. Right there? Yes, she has. And we are proud parents of 3 boys. All of them have served or are getting ready to serve. Our youngest is at Purdue University. He graduates and gets his commission next year. Thank you. He's very, very concerned about having to get the shot. And his military career may be ended before it starts, because I told him to do the right thing by himself. The establishment isn't always right. People in charge are not always right. My middle boy is a National Guardsman in New Hampshire, and next drill, he is going to be ordered to get the shot. And they told him, if he doesn't get the shot, then they're not going to feed him. So anyone who doesn't get the shot doesn't get to eat over drill weekend. And my response to that is, well, that's illegal, because you have a responsibility to take care of your soldiers regardless of what they do. And this is where we've come in every area of our society. Our children get punished in school. That's a very important institution. We get punished because we believe in God. That's a very important institution. We get punished if we believe in family values, and that's a hugely important institution. And I'm seeing it now come to fruition in my own family. My sons, Zachary and Matthew, love their country. They want to serve their country. And because they don't want to get a shot, they're not going to have that opportunity. Or the other one is going to get the last 5.5 years he served in the National Guard completely erased. And that's not just my children, that's your children and some grandchildren. I think it's wrong. I think it's dead wrong. And I think we need to do something about it. And the only way we're going to do something about it is you, the grassroots, the people that have always made this country great, have always stood up to fight for this country, and have always been there in this country's darkest needs. The people at the top, they're not interested in our country's needs. They're interested in their own needs. They have done it time and time again. They have demonstrated that their benefits, that their pay, that their comfort, that their lot in life is worth more than yours. And they do it with their economic policies, with their fiscal irresponsibility, and most importantly, they do it by sacrificing the safety and security of our nation, both at home and abroad. I'm a man of God. I believe in God. I was told by the establishment, when you're campaigning, don't mention God. People will think you're loony. Well, I'm here to tell you, I must be the looniest guy in the bin. And I'm proud of it. We have taken God out of the public square to our detriment. And we need to return God to the public square. And we need to honor the First Amendment, not only the freedom of speech and the freedom to gather, but the freedom of religion, protecting us from the government, who has spent the last 50 years undermining our religions and taking God out of the public square. The last poll that was done, more than 94% of the people in America believe in God. They don't belong to the same religion, but that's not the point, and that's not what our founding fathers were trying to protect. They were trying to protect those very values, those inalienable rights that were given to us by God and no man can take away. And what you have seen over COVID is a direct attempt to take those rights away, to control us, to instill fear, to instill divisiveness. The very thing that we're not supposed to do. United. That's what the whole thing about Flag Officers for America is all about. We spent 33 plus years serving our nation, knowing what our oath says and what it means. And that it's not taken to any one person. It's taken to a collection of ideas, our Constitution and form of government, and most importantly, our God. So help me God. That's what we take that to. And I have to tell you, I see it and I've seen it go away. And in the military, I couldn't talk about it, but I still fought for it. And I stood shoulder to shoulder with many others who are fighting for it. And when I see senior leaders politicizing our oath, not protecting our character and integrity, not paying respect to the values and principles which make this country free, which makes other countries look at us with envy and want to be like us. I've served in more than 3/4 of the world, and I have never heard anyone in that country say anything negative about the United States of America. When we don't follow our values and principles, they get confused. And they are confused now, and I know this because I have many service members that have reached out to me and have said it is more dangerous now since the withdrawal from Afghanistan than it's ever been for us on the ground. Because our partners no longer trust us, no longer trust what we are going to do. They don't believe that we are actually committed to our values and principles. And you know what? Actions speak louder than words. And what have you seen in our actions? Look what we've done in Afghanistan. Look at this last bombing, which is unforgivable, killing 10 civilians in the location that they did. I've done hundreds of those attacks, and I can tell you the location in which they hit would have been no-go criteria for us. Yes, I've been involved in attacks that had collateral damage, regrettably. And yes, I've gone to every single one of those homes in Afghanistan and sat with the people who lost loved ones because of our strike. But our strikes always hit the military target, and regrettably, there was collateral damage. And we all have to live with that. But today, to do a strike that doesn't hit one enemy combatant in an area that would increase collateral damage exponentially, and to call it righteous hours after you do it, and then not apologize for that, and then give a military slideshow canned brief with no emotion and no remorse, that general should have stood up in front of all of us, like I would have done, and said, we messed up. We did not do the right thing. And this is wrong, and I want to apologize to the American people, to the men and women in our nation, to the men and women in our military, and most importantly, to the Afghan people and the Afghan families that were killed. That's what needs to be done. Not all this military hogwash about, well, we had near certainty, and everything that led up to it, convinced us. I can tell you what, just on his briefing alone, I would not have cleared that target. There were too many other indicators there that led us to believe that the opposite was true. Oh, but it was the bad guy's phone. Well, let me tell you something. You know what they do after they use their phones? They give them to somebody else. That's why you have to have pattern of life. That's why you have to know their voice. And you have to prove a lot of other things. And when you chase signals intelligence, you're going to get burned. And that's what happens. And that's a fact. And I speak the truth. What our military leaders have done at the highest levels since the beginning of the war has been wrong. More often than not, they followed poor policies, bad military strategies, and bad military approaches and tactics that have got Americans killed. And as many times as a lot of us said, it's not the right thing to do, we need to do it this way, even when big think tanks like RAND and others published reports and told them what they were doing was wrong, wasn't the right way to do it, guess what? They didn't listen. Even when they paid millions of dollars to these think tanks to come up with the studies because they wouldn't listen to the guys on the ground. And I know this to be true because I lived it. General Milley and the Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, have been screwing up the war in Iraq and Afghanistan since they were one-star generals. And General Mattis and General Dunford and the rest of them are all part of it. And I've seen it, I've watched it, I've pushed back against it. I was labeled a contrarian, not part of the General Officer Club.
Good for you.
Dang right. And this is what we need. We do not need political generals. Yes, the military is political, of course it is. It has its internal political workings. But when you become like a career politician, and you are a chameleon, and you change your spots based on what is going to be good for you and your career, you're not an asset to your organization and the people in it. You're a detriment. I gave General Milley a briefing, along with General Dunford. When Milley was a 3-star and Dunford was a 4-star in Afghanistan, after the Chief of Staff of Obama's administration came over to Afghanistan and told us we were changing strategies in 2013. Let me tell you something. We had a winning strategy from 2010 to 2013. McChrystal put it in place. Petraeus added to it. General Allen added to it. And then we got in this new crowd of chameleons. These guys that are only interested in becoming chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and getting their 4th stars, and then taking care of their weak underlings underneath them to make sure they replace them, so nobody lets the cat out of the bag that they are not very good leaders, that they're political generals, and they care less about the men and women in their organization than they do about their country and about winning. We changed how we select senior leaders shortly after Vietnam, and this is what we're stuck with. Club, organizational nepotism, go along to move along generals that will throw their subordinates under the bus and then step on them on their way up.
Get rid of them.
That's right. And if you think that's harsh, it's not. It's a fact. And we got to do the same thing to the members in Congress.
Amen.
How many senators do you have in the state of Massachusetts? No, you don't. You have 4. You got Maggie Hassan and Jean Shaheen. They're not New Hampshire senators. They're Massachusetts senators. They joined the other 2. And the 4 of them make sure that nothing good gets done here in New England. We need to get rid of them. They're the ones that rubber stamp these general officer lists, put them in place, because they know when they don't agree with the president they'll call the Speaker of the House and let her know. What kind of crap is that? That's right. Let's count this out here. All right? CRT and very divisive books put on the reading list of 4-star generals all the way up the chain. General Milley saying he needs to learn about his white rage. Public statement. General Milley going along with this debacle of a withdrawal that he knew was wrong. Oh, he sits behind closed doors and he says, oh, Mr. President, don't do it. It's not good for good military tactics. Well, when you're, and that's fine, I know how it goes, I've been there. But let me tell you how it's really supposed to go. If it's a violation of your oath, if it's a violation of your character and integrity, if it is going to increase the danger to the men and women that you're responsible for, then you need to stand up outside that venue and tell the truth. And certainly, when it starts going bad, you don't start to justify it day after day, week after week, until the inevitable happens and 13 service members get killed, 22 get seriously injured, and 200 Afghans get killed and injured. We saw it coming. I went on the news programs to talk about it, to try and elevate, at least bring the awareness up so somebody somewhere would say enough is enough. Just because you're President of the United States doesn't mean you're right, and doesn't mean that what you say everybody should do. This is America, and you're accountable to the voter. And that's the problem. They think we work for them, not the other way around. And that's a huge problem. And that's how they approach business. And when Milley got the briefing and Dunford got the briefing that the Taliban would take over and our casualties would increase and this war would be lost forever, they did nothing as 3- and 4-star generals. As a matter of fact, Dunford went on to be chairman, and then Milley replaced him, and they kept doing the same things, reinforcing the same failure. And when President Trump asked them for a withdrawal plan for Afghanistan when he took office, and then 2 years later called for the plan, they didn't have one. They didn't do their job. And then Biden comes in, blames President Trump for everything, right? I mean everything, right? What? No leader does that. You own it. And I know we would not be in this position if Donald Trump was still president. Because when I get asked by Democrats and liberals why I support Donald Trump, I say, it's easy. I know with President Trump, my Declaration of Independence, or ours, and our Constitution would be safe. In that he would not forsake us in the economy or fiscal responsibility or the safety and security of Americans. We would not have this debacle on the border, which Milley is passing out tickets to, because the military has a responsibility for secure borders as well. And now, we've proven to all our allies that we're weak, that we can't be trusted. And that's not the America I know. And unless we make a change, the men and women serving now are going to be taught what? CRT, social emotional learning. They're going to have to get shots, and some of them are going to take it to court. And a lot of them are getting out. We just had what? 23 F-22 pilots just resign. Are you kidding me? You know? So just a minute.
Instead of teaching them combat skills, they're teaching them every other dang skill that is not going to prepare them to close with and destroy our enemy and make America safe. So, if you want somebody that is going to ensure our economic prosperity, that is going to ensure fiscal responsibility, that is going to be loyal to this great nation, that is going to keep America safe for you, that is going to ensure that I fight for limited government and protect your individual rights and tell you the truth, then you need to support me. Yeah! And you need to support Jeff and Jesse and Rayla, because this is where we're at. We're at a fork in the road. You know, Yogi Berra said, hey, when you come to the fork in the road, you know, take it. Right? Because both ways get to his house. In this case, if you take the fork in the road to the left, we're going down the road to Marxism. If we take the road to the right, we stay on that road that's consistent with the values and principles of this country and our founding documents. And to the men and women who have died preserving this great nation and their families. I lost 72 service members in my 10 tours in Afghanistan. I wake up every single day dedicating what I do to them, for their honor, for the sacrifice of their families. And I'll be damned if I let a bunch of pansy leftists take that away from me. That's right. I have stood behind one of these as a private. I have trained them as sergeants. I have trained many men and women across the world in how to use this 50 cal gun and check its headspace and timing to make sure it isn't off. And when you press that trigger, it sings, right? It sings. Right? Well, it's now time to check the headspace and timing of the career politicians that we have in Washington, D.C., and get rid of them. God bless you, God bless America, and live for your guy.
Thank you all very much. I love you. I'll fight for you. God bless America.
Back up when I'm going, all it takes is I want. I'm going with what it takes is I want.
I just want to say a few words about next steps in our community. If you're wondering what to do next, and I do want to say, when I was sitting behind the general and he spoke about his sons, I teared up. It's disgusting betrayal of our young people. Do you realize they left high school, their friends and family, went to boot camp, went to combat school, learned a trade at 29 Palms, went overseas? They're ready to lay it down for this country. And when you talk to them, you know they're ready to lay it down. And those are the people they're going to go after for the shot. It's disgusting. And I didn't share this before, but both my sons had to vax recently just to do their job. They didn't force them, but they told them, you want to get on that ship? You're going to have to vax. You want to go out with those fellow Marines and do your job? You're going to have to vax. They treat them like shit. And it's not right. This is going to blow up on them, it will. But a lot of people need to understand what's happening. What happened to the general's sons, what happened to my sons, and what's happening to everyone that served.